Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Currently, we are adventuring in Mulgore with Sillybull, our Tauren hunter. And during this Let's Play, we've decided to forego heirlooms. And this got me thinking. Obviously, first result of that, bad headache. I don't think very often. Secondly was this video. Our look at heirlooms, and are they still worth it? So let's get into this. Now, heirlooms used to be a must-have for leveling up new alts. Before Shadowlands, they offered the player a flat XP boost for each piece of gear, and that stacked. It was, simply put, fantastic. Especially if you're doing something like spamming dungeons for levels. It was so good. Along comes Shadowlands, as we mentioned before, and this XP boost was replaced with more of a tier style set system. So if you're wearing 2 bits of heirloom gear, your rested XP is consumed at a reduced rate, 30% less to be precise. 3 items increases your out of combat regen. This affects you if you are outdoors, if you're in a normal dungeon, or if you're in a battleground. I will say everything I'm going to talk about with heirlooms is going to be more towards the first 2, because I'm a PvEer, so how heirlooms affects you in PvP is not for me to say. Next, we have 5 pieces of gear, and that is gaining a level triggers a burst of knowledge. This basically gives you a buff. It deals a big amount of holy damage to everything nearby, then grants you 40% of your primary stat for 2 minutes. As you kill additional things, that buff can be increased, adding another 2 minutes on. Then finally, if you're wearing 6 pieces of heirloom gear, your rested XP is consumed at a reduced rate again. Yep, another 30%, and this stacks with the previous buff. The issue there is, well, first of all, if we look at the out of combat regen, it's not required anymore. It really isn't. You regen super fast, and to be fair, unless you're taking on half a zone, you don't take enough damage while questing, in heirloom gear especially, to warrant the regen boost. So that's that piece immediately gone. Burst knowledge, great, but it lasts 2 minutes in the grand scheme of things while leveling. It's not that substantial. The heirloom gear itself and the stats gained off of that are going to be far more impactful than just this buff you get, yay, when you level. And then the big one. So rested XP is gained at a rate of 5% per 8 hours offline. If you're in a rested XP area, so a capital city or an inn. So it takes like something around 10 days to fill that rested XP bar up. Longer, I think, if you're a panda. And then what my heirloom gear is going to do is reduce the rate that declines at. Now granted, okay, I get it. All bonus XP is good. But when you used to get 50% plus bonus XP for every kill, every quest, yeah, you can see why the old system is far more beloved than this new one. And of course, we must take into consideration now that leveling is just simply faster. Shadowlands has streamlined questing and squished, most importantly, the level cap down to 60, which is a far cry from the 120 we used to have, which is where heirlooms were desperately needed. So you may be sat there as a new player thinking, so is that all they have to offer, is this bonus? No, it's not all heirlooms have to offer. There is one other very big bonus to heirlooms, and that is the ability for this gear to scale to your current level. Now, of course, with most things in WoW, there is caveats, there's side notes and everything else, because like core tier gear, or M+ PvP gear currently, heirlooms can be upgraded. You may have purchased the base item heirloom, but that will only scale with you up until 29. As soon as you hit level 30, it will no longer scale. So, it's time to get back to that quartermaster and start purchasing upgrades. The first one will allow your gear to upgrade to 35. The next will take it to 40, then 45, and finally you hit the cap, which is currently 50. Now it's worth noting that some heirlooms start at a higher level, so you can skip the lower process of upgrading. The idea is once you've equipped heirloom gear, it will last you until you're entering Shadowlands currently, should it be fully upgraded. Think of it like wearing blue plus gear. It's going to trounce any green you're going to get. It's going to trounce most of the quest rewards you're going to get. And yes, you might get the odd purple that's good, But whereas the purple is good in that snapshot, in that moment, this heirloom gear is going to keep upgrading as you keep leveling. Which leaves you free to sell these items as you go, which means you can have more gold in your back pocket. Another bonus to heirlooms is if you wish to enchant your weapons, you can do without fear of having to replace them in 2 seconds when you get your next upgrade. Think I'm joking? A very good friend of mine will not start the leveling process until he has fully enchanted and gemmed all of his heirloom gear. So yeah, there are people out there that do it. And not gonna lie, when you're not going to replace this gear for 50 levels, it's worth doing. So we've talked a lot about this fancy gear, but where does it come from? How can I take a look at this for myself, Grim? Well, if you're an Alliance player, this is nice and simple. All you need to do is head to the Hall of Explorers in Ironforge, where you'll find Crom Stoutarm, best dwarf name ever. He will help you with all of your heirloom needs. For the Horde, it gets a little tricky. First up, we can find Estelle in the Rogue Quarter of Undercity. This is the place where most of us will know the Horde heirloom vendor from. But there may have been a little whoopsie with a couple of canisters of plague, and now kind of Undercity is a no-go area. So it has been moved. You can now find Estelle, along with a lot of the Undercity refugees, on top of the wall housing the Orgrimmar front gates. It is worth noting, if you go and talk to the person outside of the ruins of Undercity, you can revert all the changes done in BFA, and therefore still use the Rogue Quarter vendor if you wish. It's what I do. I just prefer Undercity the way it was. I'm sorry! I'm sorry! There is also a guild vendor that requires you to be a certain rank within your guild, and for your guild to have unlocked this. This gives you access to heirloom legs, helms, and cloaks. Now at this point it's worth noting that only select items will give you that tier bonus. Because you can have heirlooms for any socket, any space you've got in your gear, but it's only the head, the neck, the shoulders, the cloak, legs, and rings that will go towards this tier bonus. Now, added in BFA, there is also another vendor that you can purchase heirlooms from. The Honourbound and 7th Legion Quartermasters have a number of items available, ranging from new cloaks to trinkets. Outside of vendors, there are a number of actually quite interesting ways to gain heirlooms. Some trinkets can drop from mythic bosses in WoD. You've got the Polearm Spear of Rathu, which requires you to complete an archaeological quest in the Therian's lair. You can get fist weapons from the Brawlers Guild, rings from the shipyards in WoD, and a necklace from the Legion class Order Hall missions. So, okay, I get it. There's a lot of stuff here. So once I've collected these items, how does it work? No offense, but I have enough issues with my bag being full of anima or knowledge. I don't need some random low-level heirloom gear filling my bags up as well. This is a massive improvement we've had over the old style. No longer do you need to post your heirlooms from character to character. If you're an old school player, you'll remember doing that. Especially if you were on a different server, oh my god, it was a nightmare. So once now you've collected your item, simply head to your collections book. This is the same location where you have your mounts, battle pets, appearances, etc. And there you will find an heirlooms tab. Should you wish to create an heirloom, you simply click on it in that book, and boop, it will create that item and put it straight into your bag. This is of course account bound, so any character can access this and create all the looms they ever want. It also means that once you've hit level 50, and you've started to replace your heirloom gear, simply drag it from your bag and delete. And you can feel safe in the knowledge that you have not got rid of any of your heirloom gear, because it is still safely snuggled in your collections tab. Now of course, we can't talk heirlooms without talking probably the biggest bonus for many players, especially since the nerf. Once you have collected enough heirlooms, 35 to be precise, you will unlock the Chauffeur. Yes, if you've ever been with that new level 1 and wondered, how on earth is that orc going past me with a mount? Well, this is how. Simply summon your Chauffeur. For the Horde, we get Kodak Colburn will turn up, allowing you to hop into his sidecar. This, by the way, is a reference to Driving Miss Daisy, I believe. For the Alliance, you get the awesome Franklin Martin, who is, obviously in reference to the lead character from the Transporter films. Now, all that aside, in the end it comes down to the simple question of, are heirlooms worth it? With all the gold it costs to buy them and upgrade them, is there really a point anymore? And the sad truth is, if you want it simply for that XP boost, then not really. For those of us that gamed them before Shadowlands, yeah, of course we're still going to use them. My god, they cost us a fortune. Damn right, I'm still going to use them. But if you're a new player, save your gold. And you're far better off. If you want the mount, if you're a new player and you really want that mount so you can start some alts but be able to ride around, then what I would say is try and get all of the free ones. Because this will take you on a journey full of so many, of WoW's just really fun, almost in many respects, lost side activities. You're going to end up doing things like archaeology, joining the Brawlers Guild if it's available, farming old mythics, farming mounts in Darkshire and Arathi Highlands, exploring the amazing class order halls from Legion, and just doing so many great things that if you've just quested from 1 to 60 and you've done it going through BFA and Shadowlands, etc., that you may have missed out on. Just getting lost in these things will also mean that along the way you've gained enough gold that easily, if you've collected the free 25 ones that you can get from doing all these crazy things, you'll be able to buy the remaining 10 base ones super easy. You're going to have more than enough gold. And then you have your mount. Job done. I honestly do hope that more is added to heirlooms. I hope that Blizzard take another hard look at what it is they want heirlooms to achieve going forward. I understand, as I said before, the need to nerf the experience when Shadowlands drops. Completely get that. But then I'd say, why not make these something interesting, something different? Why don't we have them as interesting transmog sets as well as heirlooms that require us to dive into different aspects of WoW, giving us something to do outside of the end game grind? Maybe change these sets into something that work with professions. This is a crazy idea, and I'm literally just coming up with this kind of off the top of my head. But if you make professions interesting and something that can be considered end game content, and I'm not talking about the current grind we have where just collect an obscene amount of mats and then make 15 of this item that doesn't really do anything. Great, but that's not what I consider interesting endgame. But then you can attach these armor sets to each profession. Each one, the gathering and the crafting ones, would all have their own sets that they could make, and each one would have a different bonus, a different buff, whatever it is you want to give it. Just because the heirlooms that we knew and loved in the past are dead, doesn't mean it has to be another good feature that's abandoned to the scrap heap. Something that could have just been worked on and tweaked a little bit more to make it great. To make it something that transcends expansions. I'm looking at you, poor and lost Mist of Pandarian scenarios. The poor and lost, tragically, Legion class order halls. Even BFA islands. Hell, even Torghast and garrisons. But those are all topics for another day. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully this helps you decide on whether you want to get heirlooms. And even if you just want to dip into heirlooms to have a look at the mount, or have a look about all these other crazy ones that don't cost anything that you can go and get. Because you will find some really fun, interesting things to do. There's even rewards from doing the fishing bonanza. Yeah. But yeah, as I say, thank you for watching, everyone. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Laters, everyone.